In the Hebrew scriptures, there's a story about a prophet named Elijah. Actually, there are lots of stories about Elijah in Judaism and in Christianity and in Islam and in the Baha'i faith and more. But I've always really loved this one in particular. It comes from the first book of Kings, chapter 19. Excuse me. Elijah believed there was one single God and had given his life to serving that God and his people, while many others believed in different gods. And people like to hold big fighting events to prove whose God was stronger. It was after winning one of these power battles that Elijah learned that he was in trouble. His own life was in danger, and he fled into the wilderness to escape and decide what to do next. Finally, he came to a mountain called Horeb, where he made his way into the cool, dark safety of a cave to rest, feeling weary and frightened and very much alone in this world. Now, as Elijah sat in the cave, he heard a voice he thought was God ask him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And he answered, "I don't know. I only know that I am afraid and frustrated, and no matter how much I try to do everything right, people are angry and evil is everywhere, and I fear for my life. Tell me, what do I do now?" And the voice said, "Go stand in the mouth of the cave and listen." Now, thinking this was God, Elijah obeyed, and while he stood there at the mouth of the cave, a great rushing wind whipped around the mountain, sending boulders crashing and breaking down its sides. But Elijah did not hear the voice of God in the wind. And then a mighty earthquake came and shook the mountain to its very root. But Elijah again did not find the voice of God in the earthquake. And then came a roaring fire, dashing across the rocks, gobbling up the brush at the mouth of the cave. But Elijah did not find the voice of God in the fire either. After the fire, it became utterly quiet as Elijah stood in the cool dark at the mouth of that cave, wrapped in his cloak, listening. And then there it was, in the silence, a still, small voice that seemed to come beside him and within him with the answer he had been seeking. "Elijah," it said, "what are you doing here? Go back from where you came. There's still more for you to do." Now, if you're familiar with the Jewish tradition, you know the scriptures are full of stories of people going to the ends of the earth seeking answers, having sincere trouble listening for those answers that they so long for, and often not even then recognizing those answers when they find them. In fact, the Christian scriptures are also laced through with that predicament. Well, and so is Islam's Holy Quran and the teachings of the Buddha and the Hindu Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and the wisdom around the sacred wheel of life of the indigenous peoples and the queries of humanism and of agnosticism and the contemplations of new thought and science of mind and the pursuit of pure logic and the tenets of earth-oriented and pagan traditions and Sikhism and Jainism and the Shinto and the Rastafarians and the Zoroastrians and the many beautiful religions of the African continent and, well, everything. Everyone, every path, every pursuit of humanity itself contains this story because it's who we are as beings upon this earth. And it's what we do from the moment our consciousness arises. In fact, it's all we ever do, no matter what we call it. Religion, science, art, love, music, all of that is only different ways we devise to ask the same ultimate question over and over again. What am I doing here? And what do I do now? And if that's the core quest of life as we know it under circumstances we have perceived to be normal, how much more pressing, more urgent, more wrenching, more disorienting is it for us when nothing much is normal at all? Where is truth now? Where are answers now? Where should we look? What is it? Would we know if we saw it? And for all we rant and rail and demand to know and see and understand it all right now, for all we cry out to see light in these shadowed times, what if? What if the wisest, surest, truest thing for us to do right now, this minute, is to hold still and listen to the dark? See, we so often present the dark as a bad thing, especially in this season as our days grow shorter. But sometimes the dark is a place the answers we seek can finally get us quiet enough, still enough, to speak to us the truth we seek. Especially when the world all around us is thrashing in chaos, and the world within us is crashing with grief and fatigue and fear and anxiety and isolation. Especially when we see the forces of good and evil warring for the soul of our people before our eyes like some contest for whose God is stronger. And then, frankly, some days we don't feel sure at all which will win. Especially when we run to the wilderness in body or in spirit, in fear for our lives, when we have done everything we know to do and done it all the best we can, and still our life feels like it's coming down around us no matter how hard we try, no matter what good we do. And so you see the story of Elijah at the mouth of that cave, asking, what am I supposed to do now? Into the wind and into the earthquake and into the fire is the story of you and of me and of all of us throughout all time and smack in the middle of this time. Elijah did not expect to find the voice of truth in the silence of a dark cave. Right there with him. Right there in him. And he did not expect the answer it gave. So what if maybe, just maybe, that answer that you hunger for right now is actually already with you in the cool quiet of the cave you have run to for shelter? What if it's right there beside you, inside you, just waiting for you to listen, waiting for you to understand what you hear when no others do, like little crow boy in our wisdom story today, waiting for you to embrace the silence, waiting for you to trust unexpected answers in unexpected places at unexpected times, waiting for your courage and for your love and for your hope and your determination to become who you are when everything feels like it's coming apart. Waiting for you to listen to the dark, even knowing the answer may well be, go back. There's more for you to do. I looked at the tree blossoming in spring, says the poet Steve Gamas Holmes. And I said, who are you? And she said, I am God, of course, becoming beautiful. And I beheld her. I looked at the sea, and I said, who are you? And the same voice said, it is I, flowing within you. And I opened myself. And I listened to the silence and said, who are you? And she said, I am holding you. And I listened more. And I looked at my troubles, and I said, who are you? And I heard, I am your own broken heart. And I wept with gratitude. And I looked at the suffering world, and I asked, who are you? And she said, I am in labor pains. And I moved closer. And I looked at the unknown, and I said, who are you? And the silence said, I am becoming. And I stepped into the darkness.